Alright, welcome back to F1 Broke Boys Tier 3, and tonight we are back officially for another round of the championship. Last week we unfortunately had to cancel the Australian Grand Prix. We had an unofficial race, but this week we are back for a race counting towards the championship. It's round 6 and it's a mystery Grand Prix. Well, as you can see, it's not much of a mystery anymore, but it was for the drivers, and it's going to be around the Las Vegas Strip Street Circuit, so it's going to be a very interesting race indeed. I am once again your commentator, and once again alongside me, just like last week, is Jamie. How are you doing tonight, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Very excited for this. Of course, like you said, it's a mystery track, so not a lot of people have had practice. They are going into this race absolutely blind then. So it's all about natural instincts, it's all about skills out there, and it's all about so we can get a feel for the track immediately in this qualifying session. So let's see who can adapt to these situations at their best.
Indeed, so no practice for everyone. Which means these first few laps will be quite careful for all the drivers, as they don't want to push too hard around the track that they haven't really practiced around. So, which you can see a few drivers going out already quite early. It's going to be some sort of practice session for these drivers as well. So they need to adapt to this track, and Las Vegas is not an easy track, especially when you haven't got any practice in with the wall so close around. So a street circuit, and it's a race you haven't practiced for, so I'm sure that will be quite entertaining. Hopefully in a right kind of way. But we've got 18 minutes qualifying sessions, not too long. Only a short qualifying session. And let's see who is going to get out on top. We've got the two Saubers who have always been quick in qualifying, just like last week at the Melbourne, where we saw Jumpy Painter win from pole position. He hasn't got a win this season so far, but he did win the unofficial race. And Soul Demon, unfortunately, crashing out once again, just like he did the week prior at Saudi Arabia when he started from pole. So let's see he can do better this time and actually finish this race as he gets past the Aston Martin. Quite an unusual place, but let's see what the Saubers can do. They have been the team to beat. Will they be the team to beat tonight as well?
Yeah, they're currently leading the Constructors' Championship, but not leading the Drivers' Championship, I believe, because I think it's Iwata who is leading the Drivers' Championship. So he has got the advantage over the two Saubers, as they're very close in the championship. And I believe an Aston Martin is currently on a flying lap so far. I think it's Shark down in turn number 1. Turn 2, this long right-hander, be very patient on the throttle, then get back in it as soon as the car straightened up. And now we're entering the first DRS zone as we head down in towards turn before we go to braking hard through this corner, down through the gears, into fourth, around the curve, get as close to the walls as you possibly can without scraping it or touching it. Now we're coming towards this chicane here, very slow speed. It can be quite difficult in terms of braking because you're turning and braking at the same time, which means you're inevitably going to lock the front up or the rears depending what bias you've got. And he didn't really hook up the apex in that left-hander there. He did struggle to negotiate his way through as he just plain understood why, but it is his first lap time, of course, so you're going to see mistakes on their first lap as he locks up going towards turn 13, but it is very scary indeed because you arrive there at such great speed with getting so close to the wall on the exit. Now we're coming on to the Las Vegas Strip then, as this could be very entertaining indeed, but not in that way, because we'll see a lot of people overtakes. This is 1.2 miles, 1.9 kilometers, hard braking into the next few corners here. This can be very difficult as well. You're going to take the right amount of curbs, otherwise you can throw your car off balance. But it was actually Bjorn who was the first one out of the circuit there, so apologies to the Williams driver. I was up over Shark the whole time, and Soul Demon goes quickest with a 31.5, and Shark is the next across the line.
At 31.8, 3/10 behind the Sauber, who is unsurprisingly quickest off the field. We'll have to have a look at his teammate. Jumpy Painter was about to start his lap. As Sly DJ, the Tier 4 champion of last season, has gone quickest with a 1:31.4 exactly, or not exactly, but yeah, exactly a tenth quicker than Soul Demon. And Sky in the Haas, he's gone P3, only a few hundredths of a second behind Soul Demon. We have seen this season so far that it's always quite close in qualifying, sometimes even separating the entire field by less than a second. So I expect this session to be very close as well. But Sly DJ, surprised to see him that quick this early on in the session. But good to see him at the top of the field as he is the Tier 3 champion of last season. But let's take a look at Jumpy Painter then, the winner of last season, as Kainzan goes quickest by 1,000th of a second ahead of the Mercedes. Well, talk about how close it can be. It just can be quite close as Jumpy Painter makes his way onto the Las Vegas Strip around turn 12, and that's a long way flat out all the way down to turn 14 at the end. There's this little kink here, which is counted as a corner for some reason, but the Kicksauber driver is going to deploy his DRS very late on this track. Must be said, around halfway down the straight you can open the rear wing, but now down into this very tricky chicane with curbs on the inside and outside, which can very easily throw you off, but he has kept it quite clean and quite tidy around there, and now use the last bit of ERS to push the line. We've got only one corner remaining, turn 17, which is flat out what can the race winner of last week do. Jumpy Painter crosses the line, and he goes quickest with a 131.4, just under half a tenth quicker.
Nice one there, as I think Parsifal just beat him with a 31.2 as he crossed the line in the McLaren there. So that's a good lap time indeed. He finished 11th, I think, in Saudi Arabia. He had quite a few retirements at the Australia Grand Prix as well, with I think half the field disappeared from the race then, as I think Jumpy Painter and Tolo were the only people that did not get a penalty during that Grand Prix as they finished in first and second. So Parsifal then quickest for the time being with a 31.2, and let's see then if anybody else can beat him, which I think it already does. The championship leader goes quickest with a 31.1, so a lot more drivers around this track finding the grip levels as they try explore the limits around this circuit here, how much curve they can take, when they can get on the throttle, how hard they can brake, when they can get the accelerator too without losing traction. And I think more and more drivers find the confidence here. We've not really seen many mistakes so far from what I've seen out during the circuit. I expect to see a lot of mistakes from everybody because obviously not many people have had practice, and so far they're doing well and putting in the lap times and relatively close as well despite the lack of practice around here. So good job for all the drivers. 8 minutes have gone. I expect the second runs very soon during the session.
Indeed, some drivers still staying out as well. One of them is Soul Demon, who was the championship leader at some point during this season. Is he going to try and improve on his second lap? And he does improve to the top of the times on his second lap on this set of tires, and he goes quickest with a 131.117, half a tenth. Now ahead of championship leader Wardy, who leads by 10 points over Jumpy Painter and an extra point towards that very Soul Demon. So the top three in the championship once again very close to each other. Parsifal, who has got a win under his belt this season as well, I think at the Austrian Grand Prix, which is where he won. He's currently sat in 6th in the championship, but it is very close. And Toad as well, a contender, but he's yet to set a lap time. I think he joined a little bit later due to some connection issues. We can also see Jesus on a lap. Tier 3 champion last 2 seasons, but we all know qualifying is not his strongest part. He usually finds himself near the back of the field, but also he always finds a way to come back through the field and get a very good result, which is what him got the championship in those 2 seasons. Let's see what his first lap is going to be. His teammate right now is sat in P6. Jesus is going to cross the line. Not going to be the top of times. In fact, it's only P15.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jesus there, that's his first lap time on the board with a 32.4, so it is his first lap. Hopefully on his second and third lap he'll find more time and more confidence and belief. But Sol Dixon using the same set of soft compound tyres, and he's done 3 laps on them set of soft. So when he puts on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres with low fuel, hopefully he can improve as well, because he's got more time in the tank as Soul Demon there. The Kicksauber on pole ahead of Rewarded then, as the rest of them are in the pit lane. I think Shark is in the pit lane as well, so a lot of drivers then have finished their first few laps, and good interesting strategy as well for people, because some people have different qualifying plans. I think some people like to put a bit of fuel in the car in the early stages of qualifying, get a feel for the track, get reference points, get your banker lap time on there, then later on go on a brand new set of soft compound tyres, or potentially save a set. Or other people like to use all 3 sets of soft compound tyres, put one run in the pit lane, and do another run later on in the pit lane, and do your last run as well. So we've got a lot of various strategies going on here tonight, as I think the Norwegian driver, or Danish driver, sorry, of Bjorn is on a lap time. Look at him, already 3 tenths up the first sector as he rotates then in the chicane. Went a bit deep in the first part, but collects it, scoops it up very nicely. This left-hander seems to be very tricky, as on the exit of the corner, losing traction there. So the car a bit tail happy. He did have a compromised entry and a compromised run, so not been a tidy middle sector so far for him. As we head down towards turn 13, this difficult braking zone, as he lost the car once again on exit, as still he is 4 tenths up. So despite losing time, he's finding a lot more time, which could catapult him up the order. But on his next laps, we definitely know there's a lot more to offer, because we've seen a few mistakes, a few moments going out wide, and massive tail end happy as well. So here comes Bjorn down towards turn 14 to turn 16, as Tulu has joined the session, and he hasn't got a qualifying lap on the board, but he has got 7 minutes left to try and get a lap time on the board. Here comes the Williams man as he makes his way towards the line.
No.
He goes into...
He invalidates it on the final corner, on the inside of the kink. He was up by 0.5 of a second. Oh, that is a very silly mistake from the Williams, as he went into turn 17, cut just a little bit too much of the track, and now he's still sat in P9. That's very unfortunate indeed, as that means that he is gonna have to try again later on. It was not the perfect lap, but that just ruined his chances of getting himself near enough into the top 5. I think he provided just over 0.5 of a second, so it should have been around P5, I think, if that lap was counted. But now he's still in P9 with 6.5 minutes remaining. We've got other drivers on laps as well. Lennon, surprisingly enough, he's on the medium compound tire, and he has found an improvement, but not a position, as he stays in 10th position, as someone has gone quicker. I think that was Sketchy Crib. Yeah, Sketchy Crib. He's gone P4 onto the second row now, right behind Parzival in the other Williams, who does find himself within the white lines. And he is now looking quite handy as well. We got Soul Demon out on a lap. So is Wardy is now on a lap in the Haas. He's only 56 thousandths of a second behind the Kick Sauber. Can he find a time good enough to get himself in front of this Kick Sauber? Take a look on board with the Haas. He's 2 tenths up through the first sector already. That's a huge improvement, but he goes a little bit wide into turn 7, which compromises his exit on turn 8 as well, but he keeps it nice and tidy throughout turns 9. Now flat out a little bit with a kink to the right, which is turn 10. It's a very, very tricky braking zone into turns 11 and 12, and you're gonna have to brake and turn at the same time, which is never a good thing in a Formula 1 car. But he hits the inside curb, it doesn't hit the outside wall, looking quite decent so far. Doesn't go for the slipstream of the Alpine in front of him, but it does seem to be quite a decent lap. Let's see at his sector split in a moment's time if he's still up on his time. He only needs half a tenth, but we know that Soul Demon probably can go a bit faster as well, as we look at the Haas now into the final braking zone, into this chicane. Hits the inside curb. Oh, very bit of a moment on the exit as well to push last bit of energy in the battery. What is this lap time going to be? Is it going to be good enough to beat the Kick Sauber? 5 minutes remain. Wardy to the line, and it will be quickest with a 130.8, and the first one to go into the 130s. Good lap.
And Soul Demon unfortunately has invalidated on a lap time, but it wasn't good enough anyway. He was 6 thousandths up in that middle sector as he dives off into the pit lane. So does the Alpine in front of us, and he hits the wall as well. Going into the pit lane does the Alpine driver, so I just caught him on board. Jumpy Pater, unfortunately, well, he's not on a flying lap either. He is low on fuel, so a trip to the pits is necessary there, as I think a majority of people on this flying lap have made mistakes elsewhere on the track. I think Parsifal is heading down towards turn 1, but he's just completed the lap, and he is 1600s down in that final sector, so did not improve as he stays in P3. But so what I've seen so far in Wardy's lap time, the championship leader, that was a fantastic lap time indeed. Yes, he made a few mistakes, but still managed to minimise it and go quicker than everybody else. The only driver so far in the 30.8. So Soul Demon, Parsifal, Sketchy Crib, Jumpy Pater, Kazan. Can any of them find a time to get themselves up there? I'm interested in the Williams driver of Bjorn in P12, because we definitely know he's got the pace. He was 4 tenths up in the middle sector despite making a lot of mistakes, so I'm very intrigued to see what he could do on his flying laps, as both Ferraris are headed down the Las Vegas Strip as quite apart from each other, so no slipstream really punched in the air for either driver, as I think JHLL is right behind Hazard in P15. So JHOL, that's a tongue twister, is now making his way towards turn 13 to turn 16 then. And let's see if the Ferrari driver can catapult himself inside the top 10. Same with Hazard in P15. So here comes one Ferrari as he crosses the line now. He goes into P8. One Ferrari inside the top 10. What about the other? He's 4 tenths up. Here he is across the line. He goes or stays.
Wow.
P16, so it's a 31.4. No, it's P6. It just updated at the very last second, so apologies about that. It said P16 when he crossed the line. So he has jumped up 10 places. And the Williams is headed down towards turn 1. Last lap was very scruffy. Quite a few mistakes in the first sector. Here comes the long loop of turn 2 on the throttle as soon as you exit the corner there. As now we're heading on to this DRS straight. We have seen a few overtakes at this particular part of the track. You can overtake him out here as we head down towards the heavy breakers heading towards turn 3, just edging against the wall there. Very close indeed. 3 tenths up in the first sector. Here comes the Norwegian now as he makes his way towards the chicane we go. Look at that, very nice and tidy this time round, but the left-hander is where he struggled at the last lap. He's down in second gear, so drops a gear as he goes back up the throttle once again. Up through the gears we go. Very interesting gear change into there. I usually stay in third gear, but he went down to second then, so he feels more comfortable going down to second place. He hasn't used a lot of battery either yet, so deployment will be used on the straight as he clips the apex on the throttle then. A very decent run indeed. 6 tenths up in that middle sector as he gets a lovely toe off the back of the Ferrari driver, but not much of a toe as the DRS will be opened halfway down the straight. So let's see his second intermediate split, which is passed already because last game the intermediate was here, the middle sector. But now we're headed down towards turn 13, a heavy breaker zone. Can he stop the car? Let's see then as he rides the curbs through here. It was a bit sketchy on the entry, but nevertheless, he kept it stable as he gets back on the throttle once again. Where can the Williams of Bjorn go? Here he is then as deployment is used as he makes his way towards the finish line. He crossed the line now to go over to P5. Great lap time behind his teammates.
Indeed, a good lap time. Finally got the time he wanted, up by 6 tenths of a second. But I do believe that will be his final attempt. But it is a very solid qualifying for him so far. Right behind his teammates, catching it by a few hundredths of a second. But let's take a look at Sol Demon. He is starting his flying lap right now and looks all out of shape on the exit of turn 1 as the rear end stepped out of the kick shower. He needs to find almost 3 tenths of a second to go quicker than Wardy, who himself is going to start his lap time in a few moments' time. Let's see what the kick shower driver can do though. 270 thousandths of a second is what he needs to find. He's already up by almost 1.5 tenths through sector 1, so a very good start to his flying lap as he goes very tight to the inside curb. Looks very good indeed. And now through turn 9, very close to the inside wall, bit of a bump on the exit, but keeps it nice and tidy around the middle part of this lap, which is the most technical part. Now we've got a very long straight up ahead, but first of all, a very tricky left-hander where the inside curb can really throw you onto the outside wall, but he keeps it within the white lines. That's totally goes quickest out of absolutely nowhere with his first lap time, I think, on the board, 1:30.772. And he's put it on provisional pole position, and that was very unexpected indeed, as he's 74 thousandths of a second ahead of Wardy. I haven't seen what Sol Demon did in the second sector, but I assume that he's probably still in a fight for pole position. He makes his way now into the finals again. The flag has fallen. We've got 18, 17 drivers on their flying laps now. Sol Demon hits the curb, but doesn't lose too much time on the exit. Can he find a time quick enough to beat Tolu, who was second in the championship last season? Sol Demon, run to the line. Is it going to be good enough? No, he misses out by 2 tenths of a second. A 1:30.9 is a very good lap time indeed, but he's unable to get himself any higher than P3 on the grid. We see that Wardy is on an improvement as well, 300ths up on his time through the first sector. We'll take a look at him in a few moments' time. The 2 Williams drivers have finished there in P5 and P6. Sly DJ, he's gone into the pit lane, so he couldn't find a time himself. Alpha Ivo is left without a lap time right now. He's going side by side with the Haas to the line. He's going wheel to wheel now. Kai goes quickest. Kai, out of nowhere, he got a lovely slipstream from Alpha Ivo, 1:30.5. Where did that come from? From the Haas driver out of absolutely nowhere. Jumpy Painter is finished. He's only 8th. He couldn't improve on his final lap. Kainzan stays in 10th. He can't improve. Is there anyone else? Sapphire goes 8th. Bartzel indeed. Bartzel's up by only 1/10 of a second. That's not going to be enough. Wardy's into the pit lane. It looks like Kai might just secure pole position against all odds as Bartzel makes his way to the line. P5 turns it into P5. Kai is on pole.
Wow, that time came out of nowhere there for Kai and Tolo as well in P2 because he joined when there was 7 minutes left to go in qualifying without a flying lap. So that's amazing effort there. It's a Haas 1-3 at their home Grand Prix here in USA. So Haas would be very happy about that indeed. And they've got a good starting point as well. Good advantage to the rest of the field because the two teammates are up there. And let's see, can they play the cars during the Grand Prix? But I expected more a bit from the Kickstarter. Soul Demon in P4 and Jumpy Peter in P9. But we all fluctuate during different races. This is a difficult track to hook up indeed. And especially, I don't really like this circuit because it's not my type of circuit. But we do see some good racing because you have that 1.2 mile straight. And every time I've commentated around this track, I see double overtakes, I see triple overtakes. The leader could go from first to fourth sometimes because the DRS is so powerful, the slipstream as well. You see the leader vulnerable, and I don't want to be first place, especially in the last lap with people who have DRS behind me. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see where the drivers are in the Grand Prix, how they sort themselves out in the first lap. But there are your classifications.
Indeed, so well done to Haas then. Very unexpected, as we talked about Wardy, Soul Demon, Parzival, Sketchy Grip, Kainzon, could they improve? And in the end, we've got Kai and Toad on the front row. So very interesting grid indeed. What can this man do? I don't think he's been on the podium so far this season. He's not even in the top 20 in the championship. And he finds himself on pole position right now. Absolute incredible scenes. He will be lining up alongside Toto, Wardy, Soul Demon, Parzival, Sketchy Grip, Boyne, Sapphire, Jump Painter, and Haas, and the Ferrari inside the top 10. Kainzon, Slide, DJJ, HRL, Alpha Hypo, Critical Skills, Leonardo, Jesus, Shark, and Lennons. Lennons in P19, who has been a contender for the win at some occasions in this season. But he finds himself in dead last on the grid, not where he wants to be for sure. But we've got a long ways ahead. It's Las Vegas. You know, anything can happen. And it usually does, as I always say. But this is going to be a very interesting race. It's fortunately enough, it's not raining because that will throw everything away. But yeah, it's going to be interesting with strategies wise, and it's always going to be a DRS train around there as well. We're going to see plenty of swapping of positions on that very long back straight. But I'm quite excited for this one. I think it should be medium hard. I'm not quite sure about the strategies actually.
I think it is. Mediums to hards or hards to mediums, but which way you want to go, either way will work. Maybe not, but we'll see. And yeah, talk about Haskai. So his best result, I think, came at the first race of the season. As I looked through the results, no, he finished in P13 twice. He scored 6 points earlier, Haskai, and that was in P13 back at the Qatar Grand Prix and in the Austrian Grand Prix too. DNF'd in Bahrain, so this is the first real sign and indication of what Haskai could do. Maybe he had a slow start to the season, but slowly but surely finding ground now. Could this be the turning point for Haskai, and can he help his teammate in the championship? Because we know that Kick Sauber are currently leading the championship, and I think Haas, judged by memory, are in second place in the championship as well. In fact, let me look at it instead of assuming. No, Haas are fourth in the championship, which is surprising. So Alpine a second, Williams a third, and Haas need a strong driver lineup to compete with the likes of Sauber, Alpine, and Williams. Then Sauber lead the championship with 105 points, Alpine a second with 88, Williams a third with 82 because Alpine jumped Williams last race. Haas a P4 ahead of Red Bull, Aston Martin ahead of McLaren in P6 and P7, Mercedes 8th, Ferrari 9th, and the Racing Bulls currently down in P10. Then it is avoided in the championship by 10 points ahead of Jumpy Peter. Soul Demon is in P3. And it's very close from first to third, separated by 11 points in the championship. So also playing for between two teammates and Iwardi as well. And Tolu is not too far behind, neither is the Williams driver or Bjorn either. So it's going to be very, very close in the championship. All to play for Las Vegas with no safety cars can make a regular appearance as well. It is very easy to make a mistake around here because the curbs can catch you out. It can throw your car off balance. You're going to be very, very precise in terms of taking the curbs as well. It can literally catch you off guard unexpectedly as well. So you've got to have your wits about you. You've got to have cat-like reactions, and you've got to adapt very quickly during this race as well. Let's see who's got the skills and the combinations to make up a good race out here in Las Vegas.
Indeed, it's going to be a very interesting race indeed. Toto once again had to leave because of connection issues, so I invited him back. Hopefully he gets back soon. He's second on the grid, and it's a good qualifying result. I sure hope not. He's going to have to drop back early on in this race, but I think we're about to get ready. We are. So Tolu, he's ghosted. He's not participating at the start of this race, which leaves a very good opportunity for Kai to take the lead as the 5 red lights, they're on. And now the riot for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Kai will take the lead into turn 1, will remain in the lead into turn 1. Wardy's already got Soul Demon up his inside as we go, and Tolu unfortunately drops down the order. Soul Demon is looking to get ahead of Wardy, but goes a little bit wide through turn 3. Round the outside he goes, and he gets ahead. What a move from Soul Demon as Wardy now in P3 finds himself just ahead of Sketchy Creep, got ahead of Parzival. Sapphire with a great start is up to P6. Dennis Boyne, Jumpy Painter still on P8, but trying to go and make a move. Oh, Parzival, oh, and Boyne. Both of them locked their rear under braking, hit the wall, and Parzival down to 12. Boyne all the way down to P19, and I reckon he's got front wing damage as well. It's got very hectic into turn 5, into the braking zone, and that is not in deal indeed, as Tolu has rejoined. He's all the way down to P10, and I doubt he will stay there for the remainder of this lap, but it's a green start so far from High, Soul Demon and Wardy. They're in P1, 2 and 3. A little bit of a gap between Wardy and Soul Demon, but I'm sure he will close that, as someone got damaged there, as the bullet has been destroyed there. I'm not sure if anyone got damage from that, but I think Kai hit the bollard already on lap 1. He's under pressure from Soul Demon. Is he already going to go for the move on the opening lap? I don't think he is. Stays behind Haas for now. He's in a Haas sandwich, but Kai has remained in the lead on lap 1.
Yeah, so I saw what happened to Parzival. So he just locked his rear brakes. He hit the back of somebody. I think it was the RB driver of Sapphire he hit the back of as well. As you can see, the cars negotiating their way around turn 13 as Alpha High Ball gets past Kazin for P14. Oh, good start for Kazin so far, down in 15th place. In fact, he's dropped away 4 places as Tolo has lost 11 places there at the start of the Grand Prix. But it was a good fight between Wardy and Soul Demon, because I thought that Wardy had the move done, but Soul Demon on the medium compound tyres went back around the outside in towards turn 2 and got him with the grip then. So both Hasses, interesting now, have split the strategy. The DRS is enabled then, so one going for a shorter stint, the other one going for a longer stint on the hard compound tyres. A few more changes in the midfield there with the Red Bull as Tolo's got back down the inside. Unfortunately, could not make it stick. It was too tight going to it there, and therefore couldn't get the Red Bull driver. But I also noticed as well that the RB driver did spin out as well. I'm not quite sure which RB it was at the time. It was obviously Hyperwar because it's in P15, so yeah, he was also the driver to spin out during the Grand Prix in the first lap, in turn 4, sorry. But Sapphire putting pressure on Sketchy Crib. Of course, the driver ahead is on the hard compound tyre. He's getting super close on the wall of the exit turn 13 there. That wall catches a lot of people out as well. It makes you blink, it makes you think twice as well. But here we are then with the DRS wide open. Is the Haas battle of Wardy looking for a move on the Sauber. The Sauber is using the battery in defense mode. Now looking to attack the other Haas of Kai, who is derated or saving battery on the straight. Sapphire's ahead of Sketchy Crib, but as we head down towards turn 13, the Haas locks up, loses the rear end of the car as he got spooked and surprised by that with the late braking. And Haas Kai saves the car. That was so close there. I think he got caught out with the overspeed, and luckily did not spin the car. He stays in second place, but look at the overspeed he has as well down towards turn 1.
Indeed, very lucky to keep control over his car. It was a very sketchy moment from him into the braking zone, but he's kept his second place right now and can still put the pressure back on to Soul Demon. These two are both on the medium compound tire. Wardy, he is on the hards. As we've seen Sapphire, he's got past Sketchy Crip. He's on the mediums as well. He will try to get forward as quickly as possible in the early stages of this race. And for Wardy, his task will be to stay with the mediums in front, as Sketchy Crip has had a moment and he probably got into the turn 5 wall. It's down to P8. And with Jumpy Painter, presumably, as he's now finding with the 2 Ferraris at the inside he goes. And he gets ahead of JHRL. And the 2 Ferraris actually doing quite good. That's Jumpy Painter. Jumpy Painter hits the wall on the exit. I'm not sure if he's got damage from that. I don't think he lost an end plate. But he did certainly hit the wall. Now finds himself wheel to wheel. And now behind the other Ferrari. The Ferraris are 9th in the Constructors' Championship. They're now running in P5 and P6 here at Las Vegas. But Jumpy Painter looking quite comfortable so far today, as he just had a moment where he lost control of the car. And you see JHRL, he's struggling to keep control or keep within the 1 second distance to his teammate right now. And Jumpy Painter needs to get past as Kai. He's going to re-overtake. Here comes Wardy as well for the double overtake maybe. Wardy gets past Soul Demon and Kai, and Wardy takes the lead of this race on the hard compound tire. This could be A very, very good call for him in this race, as he now is ahead of all these medium runners down to P7. He's got a hard runner in the lead, as Vardy ahead of his team. And will these two Haas drivers work together? I'd hope so, especially in the early stages of this race. He's got 21 laps to go after this one, but Vardy now out in front on the hard compound tire. Surprising to see if we see a wheel-to-wheel action with Sapphire, but he holds on, stays in P4 just ahead of the two Ferraris.
And here comes Soul Demon then back on the Haas. Will he take both Haas's on? He will, as he goes wheel to wheel with again. So we got from P3 to P1, but not yet, because they're still side by side in the braking zone. Now the move is complete in the background. The Haas gets up, the Ferrari gets out of shape, and JHRL is on the back of him. But here comes Jumpy Pater looking for a move like he did on the last lap in the same corner. Can he make a stick? The Ferrari goes off the track. 3 more contact, and he's in the wall. The Ferrari driver is in the wall again because the Sauber lost contact, therefore took out the Ferrari driver as it ends up down in P18 there. So that's the second time Jumpy Pater has lost traction in the same corner, but consequently has took out. Oh, the Sauber goes off! The Sauber is in the off area where Lando Norris went off in 2023. Soul Demon outbreaks himself, rejoins the track in P11 there. What a shame for Soul Demon, who was leading the Grand Prix, just misjudged his braking point. A Red Bull or Williams has gone off the track, and here comes the Haas's now. Haskell is taking the lead of the Grand Prix. Here comes the RB on Sapphire. When he splits him up, he won't. He stays there. Look at this 3 abreast. Go! Portugal goes through this contact. 3 abreast into the corner as the Sauber fighting with the Williams. The McLaren squeezes through. Jesus gets ahead. And now Sketchy Gamer. It's all over the place. He can't find a grip at all. He's down to P10 as well. He's got to shuffle quite a few places backwards due to them going 3 abreast into such a tight corner. And here comes Lennox as well. Side by side. Outbreaks him towards tail 1, goes deep and almost goes off the track. Here comes the Aston Martin of critical skills. He's now up into P11, but is he? Because he's going wide at the corner. Will he get the place? I'm not quite sure, but back towards the front because the two houses are very close, but close the DRS. We haven't had time to talk about what happened with the Ferrari. So I want to mention as well with the Ferrari of, I think it wasn't the Ferrari, it was the Sauber Jumpy Pater. So 2-3 laps ago I noticed that Jumpy Pater went down the inside of the Williams, and I think he almost put him in the wall at turn 3, but luckily they both got away with it. That's why he was fighting with the Ferraris in the exit at turn 4-5. So I did want to mention that, but I think I probably forgot the full story now because there's been so much happening. So I'll probably mention it again later on in the Grand Prix. But he's up into P6 now.
Yeah, it was very hectic on the previous lap. We had multiple cars going off in turn 12, and crucially, Soul Demon once again having a moment in the race. As we see Tolu and Jesus going wheel to wheel. Tolu is making his way back up the order. He's gone to P6. The two Haas drivers have swap positions, and Sapphire is going to get past Kai as well. Now splitting the two Haas cars. So Wardy back into the lead, ahead of Sapphire. Then it's Kai and Haas. These are the top 4. And then it's a bit of a gap towards Parsifal as Tolu and Jumpy Painter go wheel to wheel through a chicane, where you normally don't see two cars going side by side through, but they still do with Jumpy Painter and Jesus, I'm sorry, but Tolu is up ahead. He's already got up to P6, and he was down at the P12, 13, I think, at the early stages of this race when he had disconnected. He almost got 3 wide with Soul Demon up the inside of Jesus. Is he going to get past the Mercedes? I think he is. The Mercedes runs a little bit wide. A bit of contact between the two, and now Soul Demon has to go the long way around the outside, just like he did on the opening lap with Wardy, and he gets past. He's up into P8, and Jesus is relegated down into P9, and he has to defend against Sketchy Crib now as well. And critical skills, bit of contact between the Aston Martin and the Williams for P10, 11, and Lennon's in P12. Then there's a bit of a gap towards Sly DJ in the other Mercedes. He's in P13, 1.92 seconds behind this group. So we've now got the top 4, and then it's a bit of a gap towards Parsifal and Tolu, and then another gap towards the two Saubers, which have got a massive train behind them all the way down to P12. So already starting to see some gaps forming in this race. But Wardy, he's out in front, but for how much longer? Because he has the V-Carb of Sapphire for company, and he will have the DRS down this very long back straight, deploys just a little bit of ERS. And is he going to go for the race lead? Is Kai going to try and get past? No, he is not, because here comes Sapphire. He pulls to the outside and gets ahead of Wardy, and it's a feature catch-up. RB of Sapphire Reese has taken the lead on lap 6, and Kai has also got past his teammate, but Sapphire a bit of a moment on the exit as well. I think he hit the inside wall there a little bit, and he's got Kai very, very close behind him As we now will go on to lap 7. Wardy also close behind. These three are fighting very hard right now as Kai pulls to the outside of turn 1. Sure, he's not going to go for the move. There's a bit of contact between the two actually, and they're fighting it out, which is going to cost them a lot of time, with Haza also trying to get past Wardy. As you're going to go trying to go for the switchback, there's just not enough space to go for it. As we also see Jumpy Painter and Jesus now go wheel to wheel, and Jesus now on the outside of turn 3. Is he going to get past Jumpy Painter? And we see, oh, bit of contact because Sketchy Grip was trying to make it 3 wide. Now up the inside of the Mercedes, and I think the Williams has just got ahead. No, he hasn't with the traction. The Mercedes is back up the inside. Multiple battles out there, but Jesus backs off. Very cleverly does so, and he is settling for P10. And Sketchy Grip, the first one to pick up a 3-second time penalty.
This is just incredible indeed, because we've got action parts racing everywhere, and Tolo, despite dropping out the DRS range because that battle between the Alpine McLaren and I think it was at the time the Sauber going side by side, 3 abreast in towards 30 to 60. One of them had to bail out, but Parsifal went through because he had a double overtake. But the top 4 barely separated by a second, and it is so close there. We've seen lots of change and chopping in the field. Sketchy Grip is ahead of Jumpy Painter as well, and looks like Kai is saving behind. No, he's not. He's going to go for the overtake in towards turn 13. He makes the move stick, and he collects the car as well. That is such a sketchy braking zone, because you arrive there at high speed. And you've got to slow it all down as well and make sure. Oh, Jumpy Gamer's dropping down the order. Unfortunately, he's gone for a spin at the exit on turn 16, where Logan Sargent crashed. No, it was Franco Colapinto. I'm sorry, the crash there. So my apologies, Logan. But Franco Colapinto crashed out of there as well. As Parsifal gets ahead, they're going side by side in the corner. Can Parsifal and Tulu catch up towards the top 4, because they were out of the DRS range due to them scrapping so hard? Jumpy Gamer has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Here comes Sapphire retaking the lead of the Grand Prix as the Haas hits the back of him. Does he outbrake himself? Whoa. Does he go in the wall? He doesn't, but these guys losing traction left, right and centre. And now Parsifal and Tolo, that's very hard, that's very difficult to say the name, even though it's a four-letter word. But yes, the RP driver has caught up. The Haas is all over the place, Haas Kai, because he's losing a bit of ground now towards Sapphire. Messed up the apexes in the slow speed chicanes, and I think he's still in DRS range. But look at Hazard then rides the back of the Haas, but won't go for a move. Not down towards turn 13. That's very risky indeed as we head towards the heavy break. Oh, there's contact, and the Haas is in the wall, but no damage sustained, no airplay lost there. The Ferrari tapped the back of him. Here comes the McLaren driver now on the back of the Ferrari, as Haas Kai was momentarily out of DRS range. They both got DRS on the back of the Ferrari. Through goes the Haas, and now he takes on Hazard as well. He puts himself into P3. Will Parsifal come down the inside? He will. Here comes the Alpine as well on the outside. Whoa. As the Ferrari gets absolutely swamped there. He has lost 3 places on one straight. He's demoted into P6 as Hazard. But Haskar, crucially, is in the DRS range again. Momentarily, he drops out of it as we see the Red Bull and the Aston Martin get very close in towards turn 14-16. But you mentioned a few laps ago that we haven't seen 2 cars going side by side towards turn 14-16. Remember Liam Lawson in the RB and Kevin Magnussen when they went side by side? That was just incredible indeed. And I remember Sergio Perez as well making good moves there at turn 14. I think it was against Liam Lawson at the time as well. So yeah, we've seen a few moves going down towards turn 14, but obviously like Sergio Perez shouldn't have been fighting all the way back there, but yeah, still incredible moves indeed.
And that is very right. So we're on lap 9. Few cars hitting the walls. Unfortunately, Jumpy Painter, our first retirement of this race. He won in Australia last week unofficially, but he has seen himself out of this race. So a championship contender, second in the championship, will score no points tonight here at Las Vegas. And with the likes of Wardy in P3, could make up very good ground in the championship, or actually extend his lead in the championship. He's very close to his teammate, who is saving some battery in this latter part of the lap, as Tolu is barely holding on to the top 4, staying within the DRS, but he has done so. And shout out to Tolu, by the way, because he's done an incredible job after disconnecting through qualifying a few times, and then at the start of this race as well, he dropped all the way down outside the top 10, and he's now fighting himself. He now finds himself fighting for the race win again with the leading group, as we see Wardy of Hakai now up the inside of Sapphire, Parsifal up the inside of Wardy. Bit of contact, but they keep it pointing in the right direction, and Kai is now retaking the lead of this race. He's still got Sapphire alongside him, and Kai is going to pull into the pit lane at the end of lap 9. So early pit stop, we got yellow flags out in the background. I think that's Shark who's gone off, but Kai is the first one to go in. Nobody else with him right now. But let's see where contact between who?
Hazard and Tulu. Yes, so Hazard went for a lunge that was not on. He was way too far back to make a lunge, and he had to pay the consequences, unfortunately. So he spun down into P10. I don't think it wasn't Tulu's fault. He had the racing line. He was well ahead before turn number 1. It was just a late dive bomb send. It was a misjudgment, really, from the Ferrari driver. He'll learn and come back stronger from it. But yes, in the pit lane is Haskai. Then on the hard compound tyres, I think Sapphire might respond on this lap, and Ewardi and Parsifal will go longer on those hard compound tyres. So we won't see them pit just yet in this Grand Prix. It is a 25 lap race, of course, as the distance been shorter. Oh, I see Tolo hit the wall at the exit of turn 8 there. Just scraped it, no end plate damage. But you know what? One retirement so far. 10 laps have been in this race. No one retirement, no safety cars or virtuals, as everybody, fingers crossed, still circulates around here in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, Las Vegas. As here comes Ewardi now, side by side with Sapphire. Yes, 2 completely different tracks indeed, and 2 different locations. As we see Ewardi and Sapphire go wheel to wheel, but Sapphire's not making the move just yet. Now he is. Here comes the McLaren driver as Sapphire gets pushed down another place. He's demoted into P3. I'm surprised what happened to Tula, because he's dropped away from the DRS then, so that contact must have really hurt him and damaged his performance. Maybe he sustained light wing damage. It was a bit of a tap against the wall, but I don't think nobody in the pit lane. Yes, they are then. So Sapphire's in the pit lane. So is Tolo, and Soul Demon is in the pit lane. A Sly MDJ gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings.
So multiple drivers now pulling into the pit lane now on lap 11. We're going to take a look at Kai. Where is he going to come out compared to the likes of Sapphire and Tolu? Sapphire was in the lead when Kai pitted, and Kai is right ahead of the other V-Carb of Alpha Ball. Where is he going to come out? Sapphire now on the exit, and well, he gets jumped with a massive undercut from Kai. Look how far ahead he is of Sapphire. That's almost 2 seconds separating the Haas and the V-Carb. So the undercut seems very powerful indeed. So Hasa's the only one who has stayed out so far on the mediums, who has started on the mediums. Bourne is also still on the mediums, but he pitted on the opening few laps. So Hasa, despite having that moment earlier on the previous lap, still going out, still staying out ahead of Shark. So a few drivers still left to pit who started on the hard compound tire. They will be going long and try and extend the stint as much as possible, while the others on the hard compound tire will fight their way back up the order. And they will be ahead, but these likes of Wardy, Parzival and Lennon's Sketchy Grip Critical Skills, they will all have the tire advantage. If you see Wardy and Parzival, will they start working together right now? Because these two will be going out, will be staying out for quite a few laps now, so they can't afford to fight each other too much. As we're on lap 11, Sketchy Grip gets past Lennon's as well, puts himself inside the top 3. But of course he's not inside the top 3 with the drivers who have already pitted. Tolu is now up to P10. He's within DRS range of Alpha Ball, and he's crucially got past Sapphire. So Tolu, despite pitting, has Kai, no, with a 3-second time penalty. That is certainly going to hurt his chances of winning this race, as one of the drivers in contention for the win has picked up a penalty, as Hazard now finally pulls into the pit lane from the medium compound tire. He will drop down the order after that spin as well. So unfortunate to see him, because the Ferraris were both doing very well, running inside the top 6. They really needed a good result, as they're struggling in tier 3, but unfortunately they find themselves now both well outside the top 10, and Hazard just barely within points scoring position, as Lennon's re-overtakes Sketchy Crib. We're on lap 12, Parzival and Wardy out in front, but we've got mixed strategies around here.
Yeah, so the RB driver of Alpha Hype, as Hayes just has a bit of a hesitant moment going in towards the chicane there, but the Alpha, contact then, so what's going on there? So, Tony spun, he has spun unfortunately. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Did he drop it by himself? Was there contact? Soul Demon definitely gained 2 places, so he was 11th to 9th, but on the last lap while you were talking, Sapphire unfortunately hit the wall twice, one at turn 9, one at turn 12. I was following him as we see a Wardy overtake possible once again. So yes, like you said, these two now have to work together. There's no point fighting. What they've got to do is swap DRS on the straight, work together and try and build a gap, because they're going to put on the medium compound tyres and they have to catch back up. There's no point fighting, as we've got a spinner down there. That's a Ferrari of JHRL, unfortunately going off in the same place as Soul Demon. Quite a few laps to go, and unfortunately rejoins down his last. So both Ferraris were inside the top 5. A great qualifying at one point, but JHRL unfortunately made contact with Jumpy Gamer, and that's what cost him. And no, other way around, sorry, it was Hazard and Jumpy Gamer, and JHRL lost it by, I think it was down at, can't remember where it was though, even though it was a few laps ago. But here comes the Red Bull of Landex overtaking for P3 ahead of Sketchy Crib, as Sketchy Crib does have a time penalty indeed. As we see the top two then, as they're working together then in first and second place, they got rid of the medium runners, as both are being swap places. I don't expect Alpha to make it hard for him, as we now he puts himself into P9 to Sapphire, as JHRL is out of the race unfortunately. Miserable shame. Oh, I do remember what happened now. So, Sketchy Gamer gets ahead of the Red Bull once again with the DRS wide open. So, wasn't it contact between JHRL and the Williams and Sketchy Crib? It was. I mentioned the Ferrari spinning, and Hazard lost it with Jumpy Gamer. Or it was the other way around, sorry, but I can't exactly remember now. But anyways, Parsifal right behind. Will he go for the overtake? Will he use the battery and DRS to power himself past? Get past, he does. That's what we see. Teamwork at its best. There's no point defending. Let the inevitable happen and fight back later in the race. But here comes Critical Games on the Williams. Will he take on the Red Bull in the breaker zone? He doesn't. Not close enough, as the Red Bull just stays in front for the time being. Haskai gets past, as Critical Skills gets the 3-second time penalty as well for jumping over the chicane, as Iward is right behind Parsifal. Will they go side by side? Not yet, but he is put into a compromised angle in towards turn 1, was Parsifal, as Lyons is in the pit lane then, or Lennox is in the pit lane to get rid of his hardcore power tyres to go on the mediums towards the end of the race.
Will be 11 laps for him, or 12 if you count this one. So he's the first one to go into the pit lane from the hard compound tire. And let's see what he can do to fight himself back up. The order will come out around P12, just behind Tolu and Jesus, the two championship protagonists of the previous seasons, running in P10 and P11 in this race. And we've got the Lennons coming out just right behind with the tire advantage. And Tolu is also very close to the back of the Mercedes, as Sketchy Crib once again finds a way past Critical Skills in an unorthodox place, to be honest. But he is going to get ahead of the Aston Martin. Both of them have picked up a 3-second time penalty, so has Kai, which unfortunately has hurted his chances of fighting for the race win. Soul Demon is back in contention for the race win, must be said, because he's ahead of Sapphire. He's within DRS range of Shark, and Shark is just within DRS range of Kai. So if Soul Demon can get past the Aston Martin on this straight, he can very certainly get back in DRS range to Kai and drag himself towards the front of the field, as Wardy and Parsifal once again swap positions. Will they pull into the pit lane at the end of this lap, or will they continue on for another lap? As Soul Demon is going to go get past the Aston Martin. Up the inside he goes, and he's now back into 6th position, and crucially within DRS range of Kai, as Wardy and Parsifal staying out for another lap. Let's see what Sketchy Crib and Critical Skills will do. They will also stay out. So an early call then from Lennons to pull in at the end of lap 13, I think it was. But he is now down at P12 as Kai, and Soul Demon now setting the fastest lap of the race. These two will be much quicker than Wardy and Parsifal at this stage of the race, but we know that those are yet to pit and will be putting on the mediums.
In the wall! Sorry about that. In the wall goes Wardy. He has lost it. He just plain wheel spinned out of turn 3, and he has lost the lead of the Grand Prix now, and that has cost him big time. Thankfully, the drivers don't have damage. Do you know what? The structure of the front wings is quite efficient, because I've seen a lot of people hit the wall even twice at the lap, such as Sapphire, who did it twice. He hit the wall very hard, but the structure integrity on the front wing is very strong indeed, and I've not even seen an end plate loss. So these front wings are very strong in this Grand Prix. They need them, especially on a track like this. But yeah, unfortunately he's lost the lead, but he's still in DRS range though, so he's still got the DRS at the back of Possible.
Yes, crucially enough, he's still in the fight, and he will close that back up, this gap. But I wonder if he's going to pull into the pit lane after that moment. I think tires have started to fade then underneath the Haas. We're on at the end of lap 15. We've got 10 laps to go, as he gets very close to the back of the McLaren, as Soul Demon gets past Kai now to put himself to P5. Sapphire gets past as well, so Kai now down to 7, and Sapphire is going to have a go at Soul Demon into the final chicane. You don't want to fight too much at this stage, because remember there's cars ahead who still need to pit, and they're both to pit, and Wardy with a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Our championship leader has picked up a penalty, and that is going to cost him massively in this race. Haas, both drivers with a penalty, Wardy with a 10-second, Kai with a 3-second, and this has opened up the opportunity for the likes of Soul Demon and Sapphire to potentially win this race, and it's a great chance as well for Soul Demon to get back into the championship fight.
Soul Demon, the man that went off a few laps to go down a turn number 13 as he backs off, but he hits the back of him. The Haas has hit the back of the RB, but still he hasn't sustained any damage despite a huge impact. The other Haas of Wardy is up into P5. He does have a 10-second penalty. Do you know what? Behind the top three, despite the top three on the hard compound tyres trying to do the undercut. Obviously they've done the undercut, but not massively. They didn't gain the gap I thought they'd be, so if Wardy and Possible are in a great spot, there is 9 laps left to go, and the gap to leader is about 3.6 seconds from Soul Demon to Wardy down there, as they all bunch up going down towards turn 13, so not much of a big gap. They'll be under pressure soon, but look at this, Sapphire playing with the DRS here. He doesn't want to go first, but here comes the Haas. They're all playing DRS chicken around here in Las Vegas. The Sauber doesn't have DRS, but here he is then. The Sauber sees the Haas and the RB on the left and right. Now they're in front of him as Sapphire and Hayes take the lead of the Grand Prix. Parzival is up to P5, and I think Possible, he has a great chance of winning this Grand Prix on the medium compound tyres, but Kai gets out of shape in towards turn 16. The kick Sauber Soul Demon looking to take advantage. Oh, he's in the wall! He puts the Haas in the wall, and this time he has full weight damage there. What a shame for both Haasses, looking very strong at one point, but one's got a 10-second penalty, the other one has got damage, and I dare say that's the end of his chances of winning now, as he struggles, as he understeers and slides to the corner, and now Soul Demon now goes alongside him, and the Haas is very angry. You can see it in terms of his defending there, as Soul Demon goes up to P2. So no Haas will win the Grand Prix. Oh, that's a very late send there for Kai, as he's frustratedly looking down the inside.
Yeah, indeed, and as just mentioned, Parzival does have a great chance of winning this race. He has won before at round 2 at the Austrian Grand Prix. And he now has a good chance as well of winning this race, because Kai ahead has got front wing damage and a 3-second time penalty, and he's already dropped outside of the DRS of Soul Demon, who's crucially stayed within the DRS contention of Sapphire. But Parzival will need to find a way past the Haas driver as soon as possible. He drove in the Tier 1 race yesterday, where he did very well as well, from P17 all the way up to P6. But he's doing good tonight in Tier 3 as well, as you can have the DRS. We see the Haas driver flashing his rear light, indicating that he is saving some battery right now. The Parzival will have the DRS, pulls alongside, gets ahead, and he's up into P3, and the gap towards the top 2 is 1.5 seconds, and that's Wardy very easily getting past his teammates. So Kai is not going to fight Wardy, so Wardy up to P4. His teammate of Kai, what will he do? Will he put to the pit lane or not? As he is weaving aggressively with his teammate. Not sure what is happening between these two for communication, but there on P4 and P5 we see Tolu and Lennons going wheel to wheel in the final corner. Tolu up the inside of the Red Bull, who's on the medium compound tire, and he will have the grip advantage around the outside. And Mercedes up ahead with a massive moment, and Lennon says thank you very much, and he takes both of these positions, and he's now up into 6th position. Can he do anything? I'm sure he can find a way past Kai, who is struggling with tire grip, as we see Wardy and Parzival fighting it out. Wardy ahead, and Soul Demon is also taking the lead of this race ahead of Sapphire. These two fighting for the race win, but they know that Wardy and Parzival will close the gap. Even though Wardy has a 10-second time penalty, he can still put his hands in this fight for the race win, even though he won't win it, that's for sure. But he can be a bit of a bullet towards the rest of the field. With Parzival, he is in P4, and I think Wardy is just outside the DRS range now. We've got 7 laps to go. Soul Demon leads, but can he find a way to win this race? Despite, remember, he went off early on in this race, and he's now back into the lead of this race. But you have seen in the previous 2 races, he has crashed out both of them. Can he keep his car outside the barrier and potentially win this race?
Indeed, went off down at turn 13, he was leading, took to the escape road, and here comes Sapphire to take the lead of the Grand Prix, back into first, and then level pegging going down towards there. He clips the curves as a Sauber then rises to the back of him, as Parzival does get past Wardy. Parzival wants to make sure he stays in front of Wardy so he can try and catch the top 2, so that Wardy doesn't interfere with the battle for the lead of the Grand Prix. I feel sorry for another man as well in P6, is Tolu, who spun out of the chicane a few laps ago. I'm not quite sure what actually happened to him, whether somebody made contact with him. if he lost the car by himself, whatever happened to him, it definitely puts him out of contention for the race win as well. So he could have been involved for the race win, but unfortunately that mistake cost him dearly. He's down to P6. Maybe he might take on both Hasses, because both Hasses do have penalties. One of them's got damage, so he may take advantage of that, so put him into P4 during the end of this Grand Prix as well. It's been a good race so far, but it's not over yet, because we still have a big battle. The climax of this race is building up there to be a good one towards the end of the Grand Prix. We have no idea who's going to win. Parsifal does have the fresher tyres, but remember, the DRS is very powerful as well. So if Parsifal does overtake the two ahead of us on the hardcore power tyres, can he pull away, break out the DRS? But if he can't, he might have to defend from Soul Demon and Sapphire later on in this Grand Prix as well. So here we are on the back straight. This back straight is 1.9 kilometers, 1.2 miles. As here comes the McLaren driver then, right to the back of the Sauber. As we're about to go wheel to wheel between the two, the Sauber doesn't really defend much. He lets him go. Doesn't even use the battery, despite having about 60% battery. So Parsifal now puts himself into P2. That's very interesting for the Sauber to let him go, because essentially let somebody go on better tyres, and it might be a bit hard for him to respond back. So Soul Demon there was playing the long game, and let's see if it works for him then. As let's see Parsifal as we head down towards the main straight, go down towards turn 1. Parsifal ideally should get a good run out of turn 1 and turn 2, especially with the long right-hander, with the better medium compound tyres, more grip, more speed through the corner, as we see the RB sliding out of turn 2. The McLaren driver has his DRS open, but here comes Soul Demon back left and right. Let's see where he goes this time on the outside in towards turn 2, but the McLaren makes a lunge down the inside. He goes side by side, makes a mistake, and the RB driver stays ahead. Here comes the Haas of a Wardy now goes through, maybe the McLaren too, as we head down towards turn 6 and turn 7. It's super tight between these two, but the Haas is around the outside, converted on the inside line. The McLaren sticks on the outside, in the wall he goes, he scrapes it, luckily no damage there, but the two remain in battle as we head side by side on the straight. Wardy uses the battery, he puts himself into P2 now, ahead of the McLaren driver. So out of all this, the RB stays in the lead of the Grand Prix, but this is going to change constantly with the DRS again. So let's see what happens going down into turn 14. Now the McLaren driver is right alongside the Haasman as he slips past him very easily before the DRS is activated. That's because he used the battery there. The Haas has got no battery in its disposal, so Parsifal puts himself into P2 as we head down towards turn 14. Then Parsifal could be in a great spot to win this Grand Prix, but Soul Demon then compromised with the Haas, with the McLaren driver going side by side, therefore allowed Wardy to go through, so his chances of winning maybe getting slimmer and slimmer now.
5 laps to go, and Barnes was already having a go at Sapphire into turn 1. He goes up the inside, and the McLaren driver now finds himself in the lead of this race. Wardy is going to try and get past the V-Garb as soon as possible as well, but he can't do it just yet on the exit of turn 1. Parsifal leads on lap 21 of 25, but Sapphire needs, he knows that he needs to stay within DRS range to still have his chances. Here comes Soul Demon up the inside of the Haas, and he's going to get past again. So Soul Demon back in contention, back up into third place as Shark sets the fastest lap of the race down in P13. Won't get an extra point for that, as you need to still finish within the top 10. As we saw Wardy very close to the back there of Soul Demon there in the middle part of this lap. We've got yellow flags out there in the back of the train. So Bourne with a very tough Grand Prix for him as well. Unfortunately, he's down at P16 and won't score any points for Williams, who have been struggling this race. And Williams, the team second in the championship, will lose out a lot to Sauber, and Haas will bump up, but they both still have a time penalty. In total, he's got that gap down to 1.7 towards the top 5, so they're battling so much. The Tolu and Lennons and Jesus are all closing the gap back down, but I think the gap is still a little bit too big to have any chance of putting himself into the fight for the race win. Parsifal, he is not under pressure on this lap, because he still has that tire advantage. And Sapphire, a bit of a mistake on the exit, down to 7 tenths now towards Parsifal, and he's 1 tenth ahead of Soul Demon as we go on to lap 22. 4 laps to go. Sapphire still within DRS range, but he's slowly but surely losing a bit of time to the McLaren driver. Parsifal goes a little bit deep into turn 1 as Soul Demon once again trying to have a go around the outside of the Visa Ketchup RB, but is unable to do so. Last lap he went for a move on the inside in turn 5. Is he going to try and go for it again, as he is sensing a move up the inside, but he is choosing to stay behind for now. And Sapphire closes the gap back down, all the way down to just 0.2 of a second. This battle is heating up. It's essentially a 5-way fight right now. Soul Demon, is he going to try and go around the outside? Not sure. Oh, contact, and he spins! Soul Demon makes contact with Sapphire. Someone's got damage, and Soul Demon, his chances of winning the race, they have reduced to they are now 0. He's down to P6. Tolo's up to P5. He made contact with Sapphire. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I think the V-Carb didn't leave him enough space to work with. But that is very, very unfortunate indeed for the Sauber. And Wardy's got damage. Wardy's got front wing damage. It's all kicking off on lap 22. You're still muted. Kai gets ahead now of Wardy. He's back up at the P3. Both the Haas drivers, they have got front wing damage. That essentially now turns it into a two-way fight for the race win between Parsifal and Sapphire, because Tolu is now also got up to the back of the two Haas drivers. Soul Demon is now to P6, out of contention, and he's now going to have to deal with Jesus and Lennon. So unfortunate for the Sauber driver, once again unable to bring it home for a victory. He will have to settle for P6, but that will maybe turn into P4 due to the penalties ahead. But no win for Sauber once again. His teammate is out, and he's down to P6. But Parzival, he's out in front. He's almost got 0.7 of a second. Is he going to get this race win? Or is Sapphire, does he have anything to try and fight back? Just needs to stay within DRS range, and that will give him a chance at the end of the final lap, at that long DRS straight. The gap is growing towards 0.8 of a second. And it's near enough 0.9. He's not using any ERS. Could Parzival potentially drag his car with a gap of 1 second to Sapphire? He's trying to push away to 0.9 of a second, but the DRS detection point is just up ahead. And Parzival might just... no, he doesn't get it. Not quite, as Tolu now gets ahead of Wardy. He's back up into P4. But Wardy now with that front wing damage will be compromised, although Las Vegas is a track where front wing damage might not be as important as it is around other tracks. He sends it back up the inside of the Alpine, actually back up into P4, but he is fighting with a half a car and with a 10-second time penalty. Our championship leader dropping down the order now, as Tolu now does get past with Soul Demon in P6. Are you still there, Jamie? So I'm certainly not hearing you right now.
Can you hear me? Milan, you there?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. I wasn't on mute, but here comes Jesus side by side with Wardy. So, related back to what you said, when Soul Demon made contact with Sapphire, it was broke his wing. You said that someone broke their wing at the exit of turn 6 and turn 7. It was Haskai. He just went out wide. I'm not quite sure how he did it, because I think he took avoided action, so therefore hit the wall. But in my opinion, I don't understand why Soul Demon and Sapphire were side by side. There was literally no need to, because it's just one of them things. You got to use your head. But here comes Soul Demon on the back of Tola. But this battle is not over yet for the podium as the Haas slides. But this battle's not over yet between these guys, because there's still a battle for P3, the last spot on the podium, which will belong to Soul Demon, maybe Jesus or Tolu in P3 and P4. Here comes the kick Sauber. The Haas has been relegated down into P5. He has more battery on the Sauber and the Alpine as Sapphire gets super close. He goes for the lead. No, he doesn't. He breaks earlier. Stays in P2. Do you know why? Because it's the last lap of the Grand Prix next lap. He wants the DRS as Soul Demon is back into the lead as he squirms away. Fight for traction. He hits the wall on the outside. Will Tolo take advantage now? Here comes Tolo. The RP driver going wheel to wheel. And here comes Jesus now on the Hasakai as they bag wheels as we head down towards turn 1. The Mercedes might make it a double overtake. Headed down in towards turn 1. There's contact between the two there as the Haas is also squirming away out of turn 1 as Jesus stays in P5. He couldn't make the move on Soul Demon, but Soul Demon, I dare say, is... here he comes now with the DRS wide open. He's not going to go for it just yet as we head down towards turn 4. Jesus stays behind as well. This is very critical now. I'll let you take the lead on the last lap.
Jesus getting hit from behind there by Kai. Very close between these two, but the battle is on for the race win and also for the final spot on the podium. Bartevel is in the lead, but is that where he wants to be on this final lap? Sapphire is only half a second behind him. Let's take a look at the ERS level. So Bartevel, he has got the advantage with the battery. We do know that Sapphire will have the DRS on his final straight. Look how close he is. 0.4 of a second separating himself and Bartevel deploying the ERS. But he has to keep something in the battery for that final straight towards the line as well. The gap has grown to 0.4 of a second. Sapphire deploying, not going for the slipstream, using his DRS. Is he going to try and get past the McLaren up the inside of this final chicane? No, he's going to stay behind on this final lap. Behind is the battle for P3, but look at Sapphire. Is he going to try and get past the McLaren driver? They both have got a little bit of ERS, and I think Bartevel is going to do just enough to secure the win at Las Vegas. The V-Cup gets close, but not close enough, because Bartevel wins in Las Vegas ahead of Sapphire in P2. Then it's Tolu with the final spot on the podium. Then it's Soul Demon ahead of Jesus. Kai, who drops down the order due to his penalty, which will turn Lennon's into 6th position. Ahead of Kai's sketchy grip, critical skills, and Wardy after that penalty and this damage is essentially going to finish in 10th place. After that, his championship leader in P10, Bartevel, makes up a huge ground in the championship, as he was 6th, I think. But with the win, well done to him. We said he has a good chance of winning this race, and he certainly did so. On the medium compound tire, he has made it work, and he just enough to haul off the Visa Ketchup RB.
I'm surprised, because neither driver actually used the ERS on the back straight. They both saved it because they know that they could get out dragged and also use the ERS to try and defend themselves. So they had to save battery on the back straight to use it out of turn 15. Make sure that Bartevel did not get out dragged. So that's very tactical teamwork there. Sapphire, despite having DRS on the back straight, did not go for it either. So I think he was also anticipating that Bartevel will also use the battery defense mode and attack mode if he did get past him. But great recovery drive from Tola, who spun at turn 6 and turn 7. What I want to mention as well, what happened to Boyan at the start of the Grand Prix. So I assumed it was the RB that spun in turn 3. It wasn't. It was Boyan. I remember what happened now. So Boyan tried to go for a move that wasn't on, and his race got ruined on lap 1. He was up into P6 or P7 at the time. It went down the inside. I don't think he meant to. I think he outbroke himself in towards turn 3, and therefore collected somebody and spun by himself. So it was him who spun, not the RB driver. Sorry to get confused with that. That's why his race was ruined and down to P16. But look at that then. It's his McLaren driver, Bartevel, who wins despite being under massive pressure on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Sapphire used the DRS but did not overtake down the inside. He waited till the final stretch towards the finish line, but didn't have the battery to try and get him down the straight either. So every single driver has had their own issues around here in Las Vegas, but at the end of it, it was Bartevel who prevailed and was the man who went on to win the Grand Prix. Fantastic drive, good strategy calls, good overtaking as well. And yes, it's been a very chaotic race, but one thing we haven't seen in this race, that's a safety car or a VSC. I am so surprised with the amount of contacts, with the amount of front wings damage, etc. No safety car came out here today. I was expecting at least one safety car. That's what I was predicting, but none of them came out today.
Very interesting indeed. And before we round this off, we have to pick our driver of the day as 2 commentators. So I'll ask you first, who do you think that deserves driver of the day today?
You're the lead commentator, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. We see Jason Lennon's from the back of the grid to P5 and P6, but Bartevel, he did work that out to perfection. But also Sapphire, he's not been on the podium, I think, all season long, and he's been fighting for the race win all the way till the end of the race. So if I have to go for one, I probably will go for Sapphire. What's your point of view on that?
I don't know. I really hate driver of the day. I do it in different leagues. I hate giving out driver of the day because I know that a few people might get upset. But at the end of the day, it means nothing to me. I don't care if I get driver of the day or not, or the fastest lap. So
fair enough.
I'm going to give it to Jesus. I must say. So 2 different opinions, but I don't know, man. Sapphire, Bartevel, and Jesus deserve it, but unfortunately could go to one. So.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's between Bartevel and Jesus is my final vote, but yeah, it's one of those 2.
Fair enough, yeah. But thank you very much for your input. But that sees then the end of today's mystery race. Las Vegas sure provided some entertainment for us, that it always does, in Tier 3. And next week, we'll be back in the Americas, because round 7 is going to be at Austin at Circuit of the Americas. So a doubleheader in the Americas. So next week, we will be back in Texas, which is also a very interesting track, but a very different track towards compared to Las Vegas. It's not a street track. You've got a lot of twisty corners, and DRS might not be as powerful, might not see as many DRS trains, but it's a very interesting indeed and a very technical circuit. But I'm excited for that one as well. But that is it then from us tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much, Milan, for inviting me back. It's been an absolute pleasure to come with you, and once again, it's been very enthusiastic, chaotic, action-packed, as we've seen in Las Vegas, with like people going backwards and forwards, losing about 3 or 4 places on the straight. That's how powerful the DRS is. But yes, I'm very glad to be here, and thank you so much, Milan. It's a pleasure once again.
Indeed, and I agree. Thank you as well. That's it for tonight. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.